There is a prologue to this, but I'm just going to skip that because I want the readers to I don't want to give them too much information up front. I just want to dive right into the meat of the story. So after I finish reading, we're going to switch over to John, and he's going to read the first chapter of my novel, which is not a work in progress. It is The Dangerous Voyage of Gup the Sailor, which he'll introduce himself as well. And then on John's day, on Saturday, we'll do part 2, which is us reviewing each other's first chapter. So let's dive right in. An old elevator, the kind that creaks its way up the shaft, slowly enough it feels like each floor stretches 30 feet, is the kind of antique object that seems more fragile than useful. Charlie knows the term for a machine like this: death trap. Grimacing towards James, he asks, "Scale of 1 to 10, how safe is this elevator?" James grins and answers, "I wouldn't invest in it, that's for sure. This bunker was created over 200 years ago. Doesn't seem to me there's anyone left doing maintenance." Feeling less at ease, Charlie takes his hand from his pockets and replies, "That's not funny. Just tell me this. When and if the Raleighs find us, will this place be able to take the bombardment?" James looks over and gives a sly smile, revealing all Charlie needs to know. They are not safe. They disembark from the rickety transport after an uncomfortable, abrupt stop, and Charlie looks back. "Do you think we can fix the elevator up a bit? It's a coffin as it is, but I want people to feel at least safe on it, don't you?" "I wish it was that easy, my little lion man, but I, for one, am not worried at all. With someone as smart and as brave as you on their side, I know for sure we'll escape this war, and then we can live in a place with solid walls and stairs." Laughing and content, Charlie runs down the dimly lit hallway back to his bunk, and James waves him off, a fake smile on his face. Once out of view, James peers up the cracks along the walls and ceiling, knowing that Charlie's fears are indeed right. If they don't work on fortifying and sustaining this place, it could turn into their deathbeds. James takes the next corridor down, which is more damaged than the last, and ponders the possibility of leaving. Walking into the command center, he finds himself stunned at how likely that option is, and breaks the silence in the room with 3 brief words. "We must run." Those who hear him look around a little confused, but when he doesn't elaborate, they turn back to their work, trying to manage out-of-date, run-down computer alert systems. Cam, their military commander, gestures him to follow him into the war room to discuss something. Something James is sure has to do with his mild breakdown. He follows him past the door, through an offshoot, and then to the back office. Cam points for James to take a seat in one of the 2 chairs, the only 2 things in the space. Reluctantly, James sits down, though he isn't sure these particular seats are structurally sound. But it beats standing at the moment, and after all, he knows he's just about to be yelled at. He's telling the truth, though. They do need to run. Commander Cam begins. "We estimate we will be extinct by the year's end, unless we can come up with a new plan. If not soon, it will be too late. We have undercover agents throughout the Raleigh fleet. The only issue is they keep getting caught and killed. We can't keep solid information, and without it, we won't even last until the end of the month. These attacks are getting more frequent, and we've been keeping how severe this situation is from the civilians. You suggest that we run, and it worked for a while in the past before, so tell me, what do you think we should do next?" James isn't sure whether to take him seriously or not, but with all seriousness he replies, "You're right. But knowing all of this, why ask me? I'm only a mid-level general. What can I do?" "You, my friend, are no longer a mid-level general. I hereby promote you to Director of War." Just outside the room, the others fell silent. Cam looks to James for a response while waiting to hear the punchline. He stares in disbelief. "Well, do you accept?" Cam begs of him. "I don't really think I have a choice, but yes. We need to do something desperate." James stands and says, "Just promise me one thing. Charlie will be kept safe." "It's my top priority." With a nod, James quickly leaves the war room, but once a safe distance away, he stops and takes a breath. "If I'm in command, I'm moving our people to a safer base, that's for sure." Staging a break through enemy fire is a priority, but But how? Exhausted, James is delighted to round the corner and finally see his room come into view. But as he enters, his room's comm activates, and from the panel by the door, a static voice crackles. Emergency call received. Report back to CC. James wastes no time returning to command center, where Cam pulls him into the nearest comm station to show him the message. Massive fleet en route. Report to intercept. I have to go into the black. They are calling in ship on me, and it's a big one. James nods. I'll take good care of the compound while you're gone. He watches as Cam embarks into an emergency vessel before shaking off the gravity of the situation. This time walking faster, he makes it back to his bunk, only to find Charlie sitting there with one of the other kids, Castiel. Time for you to get back to your bunk, Castiel, he says. I need to talk to Charlie. With a shrug, he proceeds to leave, and James picks up Charlie and carries him to the bed and sets him there. Oh, brother, it looks like we're in for an interesting week. I'm not gonna lie, there have been some big changes. Charlie looks up into James's stern face, but doesn't blink an eye. For a moment, the brothers share a glance until, unable to keep a straight face, Charlie giggles. James, you've got to do what you've got to do. Whatever it is, I know you'll do it. You always have. Don't worry about me, though. I'm tough. Sliding into place next to his brother, James lies down and looks up at the ceiling before yawning. We've got these things called chips, you know. When you need something, you can turn in one for a favor. You can have as many as you want as long as you can get people to give them to you. General Cam, well, he owes a big favor and has got to deal with it now, so I'm in charge. Can I have one? A chip, I mean? James smiles and grabs his brother's hand. You're the most important person here. I'm sure anyone would be glad to give you one, but you have to work for it. Show your support and maybe you'll end up with 1 million of them. Happy and prepared to start tonight, Charlie tries to run out of the room when James grabs at him. At least get some sleep first. James wakes up with a gasp, unable to breathe. Slowly recovering, he finds Charlie sitting on his chest, staring at him excitedly. Seems I've got something on my chest. Better wash it off. James shoots out of bed and whips Charlie over his shoulder and starts to carry him towards the bath. Get ready for your day, silly. We've got a busy one ahead. Leaving Charlie behind in his dark, dank room, James heads towards the command center. But suddenly, a crashing bang echoes throughout the corridor and the entire compound shakes. Dazed but uninjured, James runs to the command center to find a communication from Chumbawamba, warning of an incoming attack. Little late for a warning, he screams, agitated but alert. As the auto turrets activated in the base's shields start to rise, he looks over at the system to see only 19% of the defenses are active. With the attack jolting the floors and ceilings alike, James couldn't help but let the thought creep into his mind that the building would crush them before the shields could protect them. Get the attack up on the monitors! Get me more firepower! Make sure to send the civilians to the shelter near the escape route. Prepare the... James is cut off as a large shock makes the power surge and causes the systems to restart. Unreliable piece of shit, James screams. New plan! Do we have any ion bombs? James yells while firing the remote turret from an open control station. Sir, we have one, replied Tom, one of the few men in the rooms that James is familiar with. But that's a bad idea. An ion bomb most likely won't destroy all of the ships and will disable even more of our limited systems. You're thinking too big. Expand the shield and teleport the bomb atop it. When you blow it, it'll look like we scrapped the base in hopes of taking a few of them with us. Tom looks up with concern but follows orders anyway. They drop their defenses, route the remaining power to the shields, and blow the ion bomb. The force is incredible and knocks out what little power they have left, including the shields that saved their lives. After the shock ends, James's gamble proves effective, as they are all surprisingly still intact. Go dark, make no noise at all. We need to be absolutely quiet, James says. Fearing he's doomed them all by taking the defenses offline, he prepares for the worst and moves closer to the door. Should he need to run, he would run to Charlie, and they can spend their last moments together. Decades seem to pass as seconds tick by. Just as he begins to give in to the urge to run, a power readout comes back on Tom's screen, and he's able to say, They've suffered a 40% loss of their fleet. The rest are leaving. With an ecstatic yell, the whole room bursts into successful and celebratory chatter before James barks. Keep quiet, everyone. We need to look like we're dead. Tell everyone to grab their family, bring only what they need, and head to the evacuation platform. Realizing he needs to do the same, James runs down the crumbled hallway in the direction of his room where he last left Charlie. Upon arriving to his bunk, he finds it's blocked off by a piece of collapsed roof. Sprinting up to the level the roof had fallen from, he jumps down into the hole where his room used to be. The walls are crumbling in. He screams and yells for Charlie, but doesn't hear a thing. Instead, he runs to Charlie's room next, only to find a large metal panel lying on top of Charlie's bed. So there you have it, chapter 1 of... So anyway, that's the chapter. Stand by for